When you think of NFTs, are you thinking only of pieces of art or collectibles online? And are you possibly thinking that this may only be a trend that's going to go away? Well, today I want to show you a example of a real world application where a company is using NFTs to further their business. And yes, it does involve art, but art just symbolizes what they're doing. So let's get into this for day 17. Welcome back. This is Steve, and this is my journey into crypto, where I'm spending 30 days to learn everything I can about crypto. And today I want to share with you this real world example about a wine company and what they're doing, their innovation with NFTs. And I think this is going to be the future for lots of different companies. And I think it's going to get really easy to do very soon. So here's the example. There's a company out of New Zealand called Invivo. They're a celebrity wine company. They've got a lot of celebrities associated with their brand, and a winemaker, Graham Norton, that makes really good wine. So here are the quick details. They recently, in November of 2021, had an NFT auction where they had 10 NFTs. This is what one of them looked like. This is the art piece, but this is the only part that has to do with art. The 10 NFTs, they auctioned them off on the marketplace, OpenSea.io. They all sold out, and their prices range about 0.06 to 0.08 ETH. So what happens when somebody buys one of these NFTs? So here's where it gets interesting. When you buy this NFT, yes, you get this digital art, but that's not where it stops. You get a membership. You would get access to a first release wine annually. So this is something that's really powerful. If you're familiar with wine clubs, you get access to wines that are not always sold on the open market, or many times they're not sold to anybody except to those members. So it could be very exclusive. They also get a signed physical art print, and one of the 10 NFTs through a lottery will get a bunch of extra benefits, including a tasting with Graham Norton, a virtual tasting, and some other celebrity opportunities. So that's part of the hype. And here's how it works. If you think about how would you manage this if you were the wine company? So first of all, you auction it on OpenSea.io, and the NFT represents the membership and all the real world benefits that come with it. The owners of that NFT, they can do whatever they want with it, with some limitations based off of what the rules were for when the NFT was created. But you can sell, if you own one of these, you can sell this NFT to somebody else. So you're selling all of the access that NFT gives to you to somebody else with the hopes that it would appreciate. So the neat part about this is, as the winery or the business who's issuing the NFTs, you can verify membership. And you can do that by looking at the wallets of where these NFTs are stored. So when this transaction happens, somebody purchases the NFT, and the transaction goes from the issuer to the person who bought it. And when I say person, the digital identity of the person who bought it. So this is a really easy way to find out, is somebody a member or are they not a member? And the wallet address is really the proof of ownership, because that wallet address will show that NFT, that ID of that NFT is associated with a wallet. This is really powerful. This brings to mind, what else can you do with this? Outside of wine, what other business model has memberships? And when you think about memberships, they can be extremely valuable. It could be a membership to a gym. It could be a membership to an online community. It can be a membership where you get access to education and other types of assets. And these memberships can appreciate. If you belong to an online community, maybe it's a group where you pay to belong to a private group, and more people join that group who have some type of expertise, the stature of that group increases over time. And the people who belong to that group have access to all the other people in there. So imagine if you belong to a celebrity group or a group of really successful business owners. Having access to that group is really valuable to you. And if you can sell your membership to somebody else who wants access, that's going to appreciate over time. And the people who create these groups or these memberships, like I said, they can enforce the contracts and who has access. So if I buy an NFT that gives me membership to a group and I sell to somebody else, when I sell that, my wallet no longer has that NFT in it. And so I would no longer have access to that group, and it could happen automatically through rules. So let's take a deeper dive into what happens with this example I just shared with you with Invivo Wine Company. Okay, so here we are. Here's a little bit of background information about the auction for NFTs and what they're doing. So I have an announcement on their website. As I mentioned earlier, they sold out right away. They have some additional NFTs coming soon. And again, this is with Sarah Jessica Parker from Sex and the City. She's going to be associated with the wine in collaboration with them. So there's another auction going to happen very soon. And here's where they detail what the owners will get. So again, when you buy one of these NFTs, you get access to a very exclusive club that they are creating. They're building value around this club. Now, here's what it looks like on OpenSea.io. So Invivo and Company, they have their own page, and you can see all the NFTs that they've created. There's a bunch of other ones, but they created a collection for this one called the He Devil. So that's what the collection looks like. And I'm just going to show you a quick example of one of these. So here's one of the NFTs, and you can see here's what the art looks like. It's actual video art, and you can look at all the history. In this example, you can see that when they first listed it a month ago, so this is December 8th, 2021, they listed it at 0.06, realized maybe they made a mistake and they listed the wrong price because they canceled that. Then they relisted it again at 0.08 ETH. And shortly after that, when the auction opened, somebody here purchased it and then the transfer happened to it. So we can see that this sold out, and then this is now owned by this person. And this corresponds to a wallet address on the Ethereum blockchain. We don't know anything about this person. All we know is this wallet address here owns this NFT. So this is the example I talked about. If you're the issuer of the NFTs and you want to validate that somebody is an owner, now you have all this detail. And this is on OpenSea.io, but you can go to etherscan.io and you can see all the details in technical detail. And right here, you can see that there's all the details I just shared with you. You can look at everything that happens. So they bought it for 0.08 Ether. Side note here, transaction fee, whoever bought this, not only did they spend around $350, this is based off of today's value of ETH, which is around 4,400. They spent $115 in just the transaction fees, which in my opinion is why it's not worthwhile engaging on markets that just operate on Ethereum right now. There's so many other markets. That's a side note. And you can see all the detail about the transaction. So again, this just is the validity of the transaction. This is the proof of what exists. But the real value here is somebody bought this. They had 10 of these. They all sold out right away. It was a really innovative example of what a wine company is doing to build not only awareness about their wines, interest in their wines, but they're creating a new version of a wine club that is extremely exclusive. And these people are going to get access to wines that are released each year. They'll get a bottle of wine shipped to them anywhere in the world, but they're going to be part of a very small community that gets access to this wine. My excitement here is because this type of utility example goes way beyond just a piece of artwork. It is something that is going to transcend just something that's collectible. There's so many things that we can do with NFTs because they represent an agreement which can be enforced and validated in a very public way. So I hope this is inspiring to you. This is tremendously exciting to me because I'm looking at it from the perspective of what can I do to create a similar scenario? I'm not going to be making wine, but how can I create some type of membership opportunity by issuing an NFT? And what can be done with that beyond? So that's what we're going to be looking as I go through with the rest of my journey. So again, hope this was enjoyable to you, and we'll see you next time.